It is officially February, which means it is time for my January reading wrap-up. For 2026, I'm committing to at least doing, at the beginning of every month, a reading wrap-up of the previous month. That way, I know I'll put at least one video out a month. I do want to commit to doing like motherhood, baking, DIY, cozy videos as well, but we'll see what I get done. At least you have reading wrap-ups from me. To start off with some stats for January, I read a total of 13 books, which is a lot. That is a good start to the year. I feel like some months I'll read 2 books and some months I'll read 13. I only own 3 physical copies of the books that I read out of the 13. I do want to get more of the ones that I loved. I read a lot on my Kindle, and I also listened to a bunch on audiobook format. Let's just dive into it, shall we? Also, my voice is really icky because I'm coming over being sick, so I apologize for that. I started off 2026 with the Ravenhood series, so that is Flock, Exodus, and The Finish Line, all by Kate Stewart. I have to say, this series was not it for me. It was a not great way to kick off 2026. Story centers around a girl whose parents are divorced, separated. She doesn't really know her dad that well, and she's gonna live with her dad and work for her dad for 1 year after high school. She moves to this place that her dad lives in, big house, and she meets some boys in the town. This was the beginning of me realizing that I did not like the main character. She was insufferable and unlikable. It just got worse and worse as the series went on. Also, this first book, I don't know what it is about Cecilia, the main character, but the boys that she meets, like in the first book, I did not like them when I read them. When I read it, they were just arrogant. They had this life philosophy that made them seem like most important things in the world. I just didn't understand why she liked them, and because of that, the spiciness in it was kind of ick for me, because I was like, girl, what are you doing? Later on, as the series progressed, I actually liked the boys from this book better than some new characters that are introduced in the later book. Book 2, Exodus, this was actually the most painful book for me. I think being inside Cecilia's mind for over 400 pages was certifiable torture. She was just complaining and whining the majority of the book, and then saying that things were a terrible idea, but then doing them anyway, over and over and over again. She knew what she was doing was a terrible idea, but then she kept doing it. That one was actually the worst for me. And then Finish Line by Kate Stewart. It got a little better because we were in just Cecilia's mind the whole time. The third book was actually more of like a backstory, justifying kind of like why people did some of the things they did. There was a plot in there, but a lot of the plot was overshadowed by complaining. So overall, I gave Flock 2.5 stars, Exodus 2 stars, and The Finish Line 2 stars. Not a great way to start off the year. Next on the list is The Spellshop by Beth Durst. I really liked this one. I gave it 3.75 stars. It's very light, like low stakes, slice of life type fantasy. So it's not like super high stakes, war, college, fighting, things like that. It's just much more in a bubble. It's about a bookshop owner. Has a lot to do with like found family and building trust in a world where you have to keep secrets for some reasons. I did love some of the characters, even though the main character could be a little annoying at some time, but overall I did enjoy it. My recommendation would highly depend on if you have patience for like slower paced fantasy. It's definitely more of like a vibe read, I think, but I did enjoy it. Next up is Sunrise on the Reaping. I know this came out in 2025 and I am late to the game, but I wanted to read it because there's a movie coming out this year. I gave this 3.75 stars. So this is Haymitch's story, and what I really liked about it was I feel like from Catching Fire, we got background on a lot of characters, and I think that is so much fun. Also gives you an insight into why Haymitch is the way he is. In the beginning of the book, you can't really understand how he could become this complicit alcoholic in the Hunger Games series, but everything they put him through is so cruel. It gives you a much deeper understanding of him and the characters around them. It also has such a great connection to something that happens in Catching Fire as like a first attempt that I thought was really cool. On the flip side, I think the Hunger Games trope itself is getting a little old for me because all of these books follow the same pattern. Reaping, training, ratings, interviews, and then the Hunger Games. And it's kind of like part of me was just like enjoyed seeing what happened to the characters, but I'm also over like this whole process. Just take me to the Hunger Games essentially. Even though I know that part those parts are important. Overall, I gave it a 3.75, and I did want to read it before the movie. Next up is The Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings. This one also came out last year. I loved it. I feel like it's hit or miss for a lot of people. I gave it 4.5 stars, but I was still thinking about it for a while that, you know, this could be in the 4.5 to 5 star range. This is one of those books that when I just try to describe it, so I try to describe it to my husband, it almost sounds like, from words coming out of my mouth, that the book is about nothing. Like, what is it about? Jessa does an amazing job at painting this world and giving you characters that you just want to keep devouring it. It centers around a girl named Georgia who has to go home after her father passes away, to go home for the funeral. She doesn't get along with her 2 older siblings and her mom. Her and her youngest boy in the family are kind of like black sheep in the family, but they all have to go back. She meets her brother's AA sponsor, and there's a little budding romance there. But then there's just this kind of like mystery involved surrounding her father's death, and I don't want to give too many details about it. Even though it felt like describing it feels like a book about nothing, I feel like this was also a book about everything. Trauma, grief, secrets, addiction, narcissism, dysfunctional family, and that's just me naming a few. Georgia's ability to like professionally read people is really cool. I just really enjoyed this ride. It's just very complex. I highly recommend it. 4.5 out of 5. Next up is Remarkably Bright Creatures. This book surprised me. I know I'm behind on it, but again, this is a movie coming out this year, so if you want to see the movie, you gotta read the book. I ended up giving this one 3.75 stars. It's like a beautiful story with the most unusual narrator in it, so part of the book is told in the point of view of the octopus. There's just a lot of depth in the story because you have this very old woman who went through something very traumatic when she was younger and still had unanswered questions from it. Characters finding out who they are and who they're connected to. I thought it was beautifully written and how it all came together, and also how smart and snarky the octopus is. I am interested to see how they're going to do it in the movie, so I do recommend this book. It is a little on the slow side though. Next up, I have Broken Country. I think this was also a new release as of 2025. I gave this 4 stars. This is a timepiece. It takes place way in the past. I forget the year. I'll put it here. And kind of like a intertwining murder mystery type book where you learn about a lot about the characters as the story goes along and who is who. I'll say the beginning was a little slow. I was kind of like, why do I care about in certain things? Then it really picked up in the second half, and I loved uncovering everything and finding things out. I'll say it was tragic and heartbreaking throughout the story, and it really uncovers what people will do for their children. The themes of first love, unaddressed grief, longing, and misunderstanding. I almost like didn't like the main character for some of the things that she did, but then in the end, when everything is revealed, you can almost understand. My Friends by Fredrik Backman. Oh, I loved this book, but I can absolutely see the Goodreads reviews that say it was dragged and it was very repetitive. There were parts where I was like, how many times are you gonna say this, right? But I absolutely loved the characters and the story that unfolded. It made me appreciate life and want to live it more fully. Honestly, this is that like 4.5 to 5 star range for me. This could be 5 stars for me. I loved the main character and her connections to the artist in the book, how tragic their lives are. The theme of survival in this book is very strong. The part that drags me down for this book, felt like we were gaslit to believe certain things over and over throughout the book, try and convince us that certain twists were gonna happen, just for it not to be any big twist at all. So I was kind of like, okay, this is leading up to something really big, and then it was like something would be revealed and you'd be like, okay, so you just gaslit the audience to try and make us think like it was something tragic coming. But I did enjoy the story and I do highly recommend it. Anatomy of an Alibi. This book came out this January, so this was one of the new releases that I read, and I gave it 4 stars. It was very twisty, turny. Just when you think you know what's gonna happen, it goes in a completely different direction. A wife loses her husband to what seems like murder and an alibi is needed. The alibi seems sketchy, and then there's untangling of information and backstory of her husband that she unravels throughout to help try and figure out what happened. And the word alibi just takes on deeper and deeper meanings in the context of the story and the characters. I couldn't put it down. 4 stars. I highly recommend it if you like thrillers. Brimstone. So this is book 2 in the Quicksilver series. I gave it 3.5 stars. I enjoyed it. It is definitely kind of a typical fantasy. I loved the reveals at the end. She's like very good at leaving the end of the book at a very high cliffhanger. I read Quicksilver in December, so it was a nice thing to read the second in January. But I do feel like parts really dragged. Like I was kind of like, I need you to just get on with the story. So that's why I gave it a 3.5. Like, it wasn't bad. I did enjoy it, but it wasn't like the reveals were anything amazing. That's my take on Brimstone. The second new release that I read this year is My Husband's Wife, and I think this one takes the cake for thriller for me for the month. So the two new releases were actually both thrillers, but this one takes the cake. I gave it 5 stars for a thriller. If you like Riley Sager books, you're gonna like this book because there are a lot of twists. So some people may not like that and some people may like it. The reason that I liked it is because each twist was so connected, like you needed them to explain the story. And even at the end, like the My Husband's Wife at the end, that twist, like I loved it. I devoured it and I still think about it. I honestly think it would make a great movie or TV show. And then to round out January, I finished it with a romance, Hopeless, book 5 in Elsie Silver's Chestnut Spring series. I love Elsie Silver. I could eat her books up. I just devour them. I love the way she writes romance and characters. This one I gave a 3.5 to. It wasn't my favorite in the Chestnut Spring series. This is the thing. I did really like, he had the military background, the PTSD, and he was looking for something to feel alive. But I felt like it kind of put a downplay on PTSD because he found healing in another person. The person should have recommended therapy and things like that. PTSD is very serious. I don't mind age gap. And I didn't mind that it was like she was more on the innocent side, right? But to repeat it over and over again, I was kind of like, it just came out a little more creepy, and it's just like, all right, enough already of that. So I was doing so good at explaining these books, and then my memory card got full. So I'm just gonna wrap it up because that was my last book. It was good. I like Elsie Silver. I recommend her, especially in like February for anyone who enjoys romance. So those were the 13 books that I read in January. I do have a lot of hopefuls for my 2-person book club. We have like 4 books we want to read together. I also have a lot of romance books for the love month that I want to read. So stay tuned and let me know what you read in January, what your favorites and least favorite books are, and maybe I can add some to my list.